Big-time comeback for Chase Elliott, heartbreak for Kyle Busch, Connor Zilisch, and Christopher Bell goes back-to-back. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove on the go, coming to you from a blustery Circuit of the Americas, Austin, Texas. The way they have the front stretch grandstands and suites lined up here, they've created like a wind tunnel. If some teams want to bring their car out here, they might be able to get some free testing. I'm standing in a certain way to try and shield the microphone from the wind, but I don't mean to beat around the bush. We have lots to get to. I'm running out of daylight. Speaking of Kyle Busch, you'll hear from Kyle Busch in a few moments. Top 5 run for driver 8. You'll hear from other top finishers as well. Let's begin at the finish. 4 drivers under a blanket in the closing laps. 4 great drivers. Kyle Busch, Richard Childress Racing, trying to snap a 59-race winless streak. I think Kyle Busch, the 8, was the best car-driver combo in today's race. Qualified 8th, quickly drove his way up into the top 5 in the opening run. Actually drove his way up to 2nd before, drivers started short pitting and all that. Earned stage points. Went back and forth with Shane Van Gisbergen, but by the time stage 3 rolled around, it was clear to me that the 8 team had made the right adjustments. The 88 of SVG maybe went the wrong direction. Credit to Kyle Busch, of course, but also crew chief Randall Burnett. We forget, before Kyle Busch got to this team, they won 2 road course races in 2022 with Tyler Reddick. Same crew chief, same group, same everything. This is a good road course racing team, and Kyle Busch now has, I think, 5 top 5 finishes at road courses since joining Richard Childress Racing, so that success more or less has continued since Rowdy joined the team. Kyle Busch talked to reporters after the race about how they were able to improve on the car throughout the weekend. That was encouraging.
Yeah, no, good piece. I was really scared when we unloaded. We were not where we wanted to be, but guys made really, really good adjustments to the race car, got it a lot better, put it where we needed it to be to go out there and have a contending car for the race today.
While Kyle Busch had a winning car tonight, they were not, unfortunately, on the winning tire strategy. Let's go back. Caution comes out. Denny Hamlin gets into Austin Dillon in turn 6A. Weird-looking incident. Hamlin lost control and actually broke to the right, entering the left-hander. Looking back at the in-car, you can actually see dirt underneath Hamlin's tires right before he loses control. NASCAR, after this caution, spent an extra caution lap sweeping up dirt across different parts of the track. So I know fans are going to say that was sus that a Joe Gibbs Racing car, Denny Hamlin, wrecked an RCR car, Austin Dillon, to bring out a caution so that Joe Gibbs Racing car, Christopher Bell, could be closer to RCR car Kyle Busch with a tire advantage. I know people are going to say they're going to make up this conspiracy. I don't believe it. I think the replay shows Hamlin genuinely lost control. And let's be honest, Hamlin's racing for a spot inside the top 20. He's not going to throw those points away, risk destroying his race. Also keep in mind, at the time of that caution, you could argue Shane Van Gisbergen in a Trackhouse Chevy was actually in the best tire situation, restarting 6th with 5 lap fresher tires than everyone. So no, I do not buy for a second that Denny Hamlin intentionally wiped out Austin Dillon to bring out a caution. It was a mistake, but it certainly hurt Kyle Busch because it brought Christopher Bell and SVG and William Byron and Tyler Reddick closer to him. All of those drivers, except maybe Reddick, had a tire advantage, at least 1 or 2 laps. Bell, 2 lap fresher tires than Busch. SVG, I mentioned 5 lap fresher tires, but this is where I say they went backwards on the adjustments with SVG because he got manhandled a little on the restart, but even once they settled it out, I saw him slip in turn 19, lose a few spots. They just didn't have it in stage 3, unfortunately. But Christopher Bell did, and boy, Bell, Busch, Byron with a battle for the ages in the final laps here at Circuit of the Americas. Remember, 1 year ago in this race, Christopher Bell got into Kyle Busch, spun him out. Afterwards, Busch confronted Bell on pit road. Remember this iconic image? So you gotta know that was in the back of both drivers' minds in the closing laps. Christopher Bell, not wanting a repeat of 2024, was very clean, very respectful when racing Kyle Busch. Ultimately, he made the race-winning pass without contact. Kyle Busch talked about that some after the race.
I was doing all that the 20 needed to dump me, so he was gracious in racing there, and we were able to have a little bit of a battle there for a few turns, and then all of a sudden we made that contact and it killed us.
Once Kyle Busch fell back, it was William Byron then chasing down Christopher Bell, and Byron himself had numerous opportunities to bump Bell out of the way, but he never took that chance. So we asked him why after the race.
If he had passed Kyle dirtier, like maybe that opens the door for me and kind of, game on. But me and Bell have always raced well together and, teammates since the truck days. So it's kind of, mutual respect. And I feel like, like I said, if he would have roughed people up to get there, it would have been a different game, but that didn't happen.
You'll notice a theme here. Bell, Byron, Busch, three of the best drivers in NASCAR today. Throw Tyler Reddick in there. Throw Chase Elliott in there, who ultimately finished fourth. We'll get to him in a moment. All of these drivers, very clean, very respectful, aggressive, hard racing, very competitive, but nothing out of line. Nothing out of line at the end of this race. It was refreshing. The way this race began, with Ross Chastain cleaning out the inside line, turn one, lap one, I was worried we were in for a no-holds-barred brawl. But I'm glad it never fully devolved into that, especially at the front of the field. I'm really glad that these world-class drivers were able to race each other straight up, still make it entertaining, still very competitive, very close, but never cross over the line. There was nothing dirty. There was no cheap shots. I appreciate that from Busch, Bell, Byron. Chase Elliott was asked about that at the end of the race, and he too was complimentary.
That right there is a great example of three very respectful, talented race car drivers, duking it out for a win without crashing each other. It was awesome to watch.
Clean, competitive racing is always going to be my beverage of choice. That's what we got here in the closing laps at Circuit of the Americas. So let's pull up some top finishers here. Christopher Bell, big win, second win in a row. 3 races into the year, and C. Bell's already got 2 dubs. Super Speedway road course, gosh, who's stopping this guy? Finishing second, of course, William Byron. Really, this was a rematch of 2024. Last year in this race, it was Bell chasing down Byron, never got to him. Today, it was the opposite. This time they finished 1-2 with the 20 on top. Tyler Reddick, who's also a previous COTA winner, was charging at the end. He comes home third. Chase Elliott, you want to talk about a charge? They decided to pit there with, I think it was 18 laps to go, 13 laps to go, I apologize. Fresh tires, drove from the back basically up to 4th place. Really, really impressive. Shame we didn't get to see Elliott up front. I think he had a top 5 car, maybe one that could have contended for the win, even on equal tires. But of course, turn 1, lap 1, I already mentioned it, just got cleaned out by Ross Chastain. I feel like I've been pretty friendly to Ross the past couple of years, but that was, I don't know what that was. That was one of the most inexplicable moves I've ever seen Ross Chastain make. Turn 1, lap 1, go 5 wide on the inside. There's no reason for that. Absolutely uncalled for it. Chase Elliott should and will get him back sometime in the coming weeks. Sucks too, because that move kind of messed up Denny Hamlin's race. Denny's not a great road racer by any means, but who knows? He could have been more competitive today, but had massive right front damage. Who knows if that came into play in the Austin Dillon crash? Connor Zilisch. I want to talk about Connor Zilisch for a moment, then we'll get back to some of the top finishers. Connor Zilisch got damage. Turn 1, lap 1, because his teammate Ross Chastain was incredibly impatient. Connor Zilisch, the 18-year-old road course racing phenom. What a huge weekend for the kid. Trackhouse development driver, bringing Red Bull primary sponsorship back into NASCAR for the first time in over a decade. Won the Xfinity race yesterday. Started on pole, got the win. Wasn't without some controversy. Had to door a few guys. I'm sure Corey Heim, not the biggest Connor Zilisch fan in this moment, but he was by far the fastest guy in the Xfinity Series field. And honestly, looking at lap times today, he might have been the fastest Cup Series driver. At least top 5. Top 5 for sure. But because of the damage he suffered on the very first lap, he had to go to the back of the field, slowly work his way towards the front from 31st to 14th in stage 2. 31st to 14th, that's 17 cars passed under green flag conditions. That's difficult to do. Shows you how composed this teenager truly was. But unfortunately, Connor Zilich's much anticipated debut ended in disaster. Really, the day that started with so much potential for all of Team Trackhouse ended in complete and total, utter disaster. Trackhouse brought the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse to this race, and they walk out of here with absolutely nothing to show for it. Obviously, Ross Chastain started things off bad with that move in turn 1, cost Connor Zilisch then, and then later on, Daniel Suarez just loses it, slips in the dirt, spins out, Zilisch lost in the smoke, crashes into him, huge impact. Daniel Suarez and Connor Zilisch finish 36th and 37th. Ross Chastain doesn't score a top 10, pissed off Chase Elliott in the process, and Shane Van Gisbergen. I mentioned how he faded towards the end. He still gets a top 10. I mean, hey, 6th place, not bad at all, but considering the expectation coming into this weekend, only one car in the top 10 is a massive disappointment for Trackhouse. There's really no other way to put it. Daniel Suarez especially. I'm sure people are going to look at that replay, the crash that took out Connor Zilisch, and they're going to use that as sort of like a metaphor maybe for what could happen in the future. Daniel Suarez, man, just back-to-back devastating weekends. Atlanta, COTA, 2 of his better tracks, 2 wrecks. Nothing to show for his efforts. That's not how you want to start the year, considering you're about to begin, presumably, contract negotiations. So, yeah, Trackhouse with the 2 last place finishers, only 1 car in the top 10. Huge disappointment. Though Connor Zilisch, again, wise beyond his years, composed beyond his years, mature beyond his years, kept his head up outside of the infield care center after wrecking out.
I saw him spinning off to the left, and I thought he's going to keep going in that direction or stay there. And I guess he flipped back right and started coming towards me. So, yeah, really unfortunate way to end. My Cup Series debut. We were one of the top 5 fastest cars in the second stage there. I went from outside the top 30 to 14th and felt really good about our car. We made a lot of gains for practice and qualifying, and just unfortunate way to end it. These guys all are very calculated and smart with the things they're doing, and I had a lot of fun getting to kind of experience that and learn from a lot of those guys. So definitely a lot to take away from it, but frustrated that it ended this early.
Connor Zilisch absolutely has a future racing in NASCAR. He's a phenomenal road course racer, one of the best in the business already. I think he'll be good at the ovals this year. He's won ARCA races at ovals. I saw him at Kansas last year in one of his first Xfinity starts, ran top 5. He'll be good at the ovals. He'll get better as he goes. He's already an elite road course racer. I mean, the kid's going to be here for many years to come. One more look at the top finishers here. Shout out to some Ford drivers. Chris Buescher gets a top 10. So does Noah Gragson. How about that? And Todd Gilliland, 10th. Whoa. Before we put this race on the groovy gauge, I just want to talk about Circuit of the Americas, because there continues to be rumblings that this track may not return to the schedule next year. SMI, COTA still have yet to agree to a new deal. Will NASCAR step in and get involved? It's all TBD, but I thought the short course today, as I'm going to call it, the 2.4 mile configuration with that new look turn 6A, I thought it was a huge hit. Turn 6A turned out to be a pretty good passing zone. The cars were able to stay closer together. I made this point after the Xfinity race yesterday, but with all the cosmetic damage to these cars, it looked like they just got done racing 500 miles at Martinsville. Now, that's kind of cool. That's what NASCAR road course is supposed to be. We got fenders for a reason. Rubbins Racing, some contact here and there, muscle these heavy machines around tight corners. This current COTA configuration suits the Cup Series extremely well, I believe. And of course, Austin, Texas. Y'all know I'm biased. I'm from Texas. I used to live in Austin. But Austin, objectively speaking, is a growing, large market. COTA, objectively, is one of the nicest, most well-maintained racing facilities in the United States. America's premier racing series should race here once a year. It fits this early portion of the schedule extremely well. Weather was beautiful. Thumbs up all weekend long. I'm serious. It was like 70s, low 80s, and sunny all weekend. Beautiful. NASCAR should continue to come to COTA once a year. I will die on that hill. I think the final 13 laps tonight, clean, competitive racing between 4 championship contenders, proved it. Oh gosh, let's put this race on the groovy gauge. Powered, of course, by Electric e-bikes. Head to electricebikes.com. Link is down in the description below. Really good race overall. I didn't know who was going to win until the final lap. Final corner, for that matter. Like, at times, I thought Shane Van Gisbergen was going to run away with it. At times, I thought Kyle Busch was going to shock the world. AJ Allmendinger at one point, the way he was moving through the field looked like a legit contender. And then at the end, Bell versus Byron for the second straight year. Reddick in the picture. Chase Elliott moving into the frame. This was a phenomenal race, start to finish. Really had no truly dry, extended periods. 80%, really good road course race. for the NASCAR Cup Series. I'm going to go 80% on the groovy gauge. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree or what kind of score you would give this race. I thought it was great. I know I'm a little biased. I'm here, obviously. Love coming to Circuit of the Americas. Love having this race here in Central Texas. But I thought it was a very, very good race. I know there's going to be some rumblings about the officiating as well. There was some confusion amongst drivers about track limits, especially in turn 6 before the new turn 6A. Apparently they weren't calling course cutting in turn 6 yesterday during the Xfinity race, but the memo that was sent out to teams says you are expected to stay on the course at all times, and specifically said you are not allowed to put all 4 tires below the red and white rumble strips. Yet in turn 6, everyone was going into the blue. So they didn't call it in the Xfinity race. They eventually clarified midway through stage 1 or early stage 2 tonight that they weren't going to call it in the Cup race, but that obviously needed to be clarified ahead of time. It seemed like no one in the field understood how turn 6 was going to be officiated until the race was already underway. I don't think anyone was called for a turn 6 course cutting penalty all weekend, so it's not like anyone got their race screwed unfairly as a result of this, but there was definitely confusion. It's weird to have that kind of thing get cleared up mid-race. That is an easy memo to send out on Thursday before the weekend even begins. Ultimately, it's nice to have a race finally that wasn't decided by race control. But yeah, that's going to do it for me here at Circuit of the Americas. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more NASCAR content day in, day out, every week, all season long. Big thank you to my Patreon supporters. I always say it, but you guys are the reason I'm able to come to the racetrack like this. Get you some driver quotes firsthand. Hopefully it enhances the videos. I really appreciate the support. Thank you guys a ton. I will be back home this week. Expect more regular videos. Gosh, they've had these speakers blaring the whole time. I'm really praying that you guys couldn't hear. Earlier, I think they were playing Hey Soul Sister. Maybe that was before I hit record. I really hope that doesn't come through in the video. That would be a tremendous distraction. But thanks for watching, y'all. Thanks for sticking with me all weekend. I will talk to y'all again very, very soon.